Many of you are leaders, and there are many people that are leaders around you that you don't maybe realize as being leaders. It's difficult sometimes to become a leader because you have to invest the time and energy to acquire leadership skills. And the good news is, by making that investment in yourselves and your teams, it is possible to develop into a great leader. So we're going to kick off our discussion this afternoon by asking questions that will allow these women to tell us some of the key strategies and competencies and capabilities they need as leaders. So Susan Harrington, we're going to start with you. Susan, there are many different types of leaders. Some people lead like General Patton, and other people lead with a vision like Dr. Martin Luther King. Will you tell us a little bit about the different leadership styles that you have brushed shoulders with, and tell us a little bit about your own personal leadership style?
I'd be happy to, and a number of my staff people are here, so they're going to keep me honest in case I tell you something that's not true. Let me first of all say, I would just like to comment that I feel very honored to be on the panel with such prestigious women in leadership. But there are so many people in this room that I would say are equally as dynamic. And I think in particular, the men who are here should be given a round of applause for being dynamic enough in here to be willing to come into a minority group. So I applaud that effort. Well, for me personally, I believe that a great leader really, it starts out with really having a passion and a purpose for what you want to do in life. And I think that evolves over time. I think it evolves through experiences when you're really able to hone in and define what it is that drives you. I think everyone has to have a bit of a driver to become a leader, whether you're a woman or a man. For me, I think there were a lot of life experiences that sort of pushed me into taking responsibility at a very early age, and really having to grow up fast, as I lost my mother when I was 12 years old and had to become a mom to a 6-year-old sister. So there are things like that I think begin to develop your style and who you are. But I would have to say that in my business professional life, it has really been primarily about people, whether it's people that you're brushing shoulders with, that you respect and regard and learn from every day, to people who you encounter either in your day-to-day job or in your network that inspire you, that are strong in their own leadership, and they actually help define who you are. So I would say that my leadership style has largely been successful on putting the right people around me and really helping other people be successful. I think when you invest in your team, your staff, your peers, it comes back to you 100-fold. And so I would say my style is probably a servant leader, and I think that has played very well in the environment that I'm in today, working with volunteers and being in a mission-driven organization. So I think matching that up to the right purpose and passion that you have is also very important in how well you succeed in that style.
Thanks, Susan. Mm-hmm. Debbie, the next question is for you, but before I ask you that, I think it would be helpful for our panelists to know who we have in our audience. So any of you that are students, will you please raise your hand so we can see how many students?
Awesome.
Welcome.
Welcome.
How about corporate meeting planners? Any corporate meeting planners in the room?
Woo-hoo. Woo-hoo.
Association planners?
Yay.
Third party and independent?
Yay.
And how about our strategic partners, our suppliers that are in the room? Thank you. Debbie, will you share with us some of the keys that you see to leadership development?
Well, I think it's ongoing. I think it's lifelong. And before getting into some of the details, I just really want to recognize the students because they're near and dear to my heart. We have 9 University of South Carolina students here. that drove 3 hours here and will drive 3 hours back. And I think they really need a round of applause. Because they're in their beginning stages of developing their leadership traits, but I think all of us in this room realize that it's an ongoing process, that I think it really never ends. And I feel like that on a daily basis, there's something that I'm trying to work on. I think a lot of it is having good sounding boards and maybe getting some feedback, but as people change and as you work with different groups and different age groups and diverse groups, that you just are constantly working on something. And I think communication skills are absolutely key for effective leadership, and that includes listening. And that's something that I have to catch myself on a regular basis. Did I hear that message? Not just the words, but did I hear all the nonverbal messages that were being sent as well? And so it really is an evolutionary process. I think that it starts at a very elementary level in the classroom, but I think the development is something that everyone has to take a personal responsibility for, so that you're getting feedback, you're checking yourself, you're kind of scoring yourself, what could I have done better? It's really a commitment, I think, to continual improvement, that it's groups like this where you have colleagues, you have people that can give you feedback, that you can see how they're doing in similar circumstances. And so I think the exciting thing, the thing that I really love about it, is that it's ongoing. It never really ends.
Thank you, Debbie. Erica, in today's turbulent times, and they are turbulent,
Absolutely.
what qualities do leaders need?
I think leaders need to be adaptable, flexible, go back to being a student again and understanding what the needs of all of your stakeholders are. More importantly, I think you have to be inspiring, and you have to encourage and develop and train, because we've asked managers and employees to do work differently, to do more with less. And so as you're asking it, how do you keep them inspired and want to do more? How do you make sure that you get to the needs of your customers? I had to be an outstanding salesperson all over again and make sure that I was out connecting with folks that needed us. We went through a time when companies had to say, I can't travel. Everything's being cut. We have clauses in our contracts that didn't work. So you have to be able to know what everyone needs and be adaptable and flexible, and then learn all you can all over again, because the industry's changed so much. The work that we have to do now has changed significantly. So I think that remaining a student always helps us grow, learn, develop, and more importantly, grow our businesses, which is critical for us.
Thank you. Susan Katz, we've had a chance to talk about a great program that the True Value Company has in place. And it's a leadership program based on situational leadership, which may or may not be different than gender-based leadership or generational-based leadership. Would you be willing to share with our audience some of the details of the situational leadership training that you all go through at your company?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And let me thank Megan for inviting me to be here today. It's terrific to get out to the chapters and see such great energy level in a chapter the Southeast chapter brings to the table here. And I'm really thrilled to be here, and also thrilled to be your chair for this year. As far as leadership, the situational leadership program True Value does at the company, it was really an eye-opener for me, because a lot like Susan said, I felt I was a support, and my job was just to be there to remove roadblocks for my team. I was there to set a vision and to help them achieve that vision. But what situational leadership this program taught me is really you have to look at each individual and what the task at hand is that that individual is taking on, and then decide how to best help them. Often I have very seasoned people in my office, but as Erica said, we are all going through change. We're all asking people to do things that they haven't had to do before. We're all taking on more tasks. So even though it's a seasoned individual who may have been in the industry for quite some time, they may be taking on a task that is outside their comfort zone. And therefore, as a leader, it is my responsibility to give them much more support and direction when they are learning and taking on this new task versus a task that they've done many times over. And I can say, here's the goal, go for it. I'm here if you need help. But you have to evaluate each time who you're working with, how they work, what their knowledge base is, and really define your leadership skills based upon what it is you're asking them to do at that particular moment. It really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and it also gave me some insights to myself, because I thought about the times that I had to take on new tasks and I felt abandoned because I am perceived as the expert, the seasoned person in the office. But there are times when I felt like I needed a little more coaching than I got at the time a task was turned over. So it really opened my eyes in both directions on how I could be more effective with my team and be more supportive as they were taking on new skills, and also for asking my superiors what I needed when they were turning over some things that were really outside my comfort zone. And I think it truly, in this day and age, when we are all taking on more and asked to do more and learning new skills and taking on new projects, it's really important that you evaluate who you're dealing with and whether they are in their comfort zone or outside their comfort zone and then you can adapt your leadership style to that.
So you believe, and I think the other three panelists from our conversations believe, that it really is more situational than male, female, or generations. Would any of the other panelists want to add to that? Is there a misconception that men and women lead differently that we need to clarify while we have this opportunity?
I think we all lead differently because we're individuals and we deal with different situations involving other individuals. And I think that's the challenge in terms of situational leadership, which I think is a wonderful approach to take in terms of trying to train and evaluate as a company. But I think that's one of the challenges, is that we each have our unique styles because we have our unique strengths and weaknesses as well. And so I think it's very situational. I don't concur that the big differences are gender-based. I think it's based on individual differences and individual circumstances and situations that we find ourselves in.
I would also add, in this day and age, it's very difficult to be a leader that just directs and creates the general, be the general and pound in what you want to get done. It takes a lot more nuances to really gain support and to create an atmosphere where everybody is working in the same direction, so that what used to be maybe considered male style is no longer, I think, even workable in the workplace anymore. I think we all have to show emotional intelligence. We talked about this earlier. Some emotional intelligence as to how you lead people in order to be an effective leader. And that doesn't matter if you're male or female. We all have to understand who we're dealing with, how to communicate with them, how to be effective in setting goals, and how to help our teams meet those goals.
I think it's also critical, as I have my orientation with my associates that's coming into this building, I always ask them, what are their 3 core values? What is most important to them? What drives them? What inspires them? And once we find that out, you may call it situational leadership, but it's about making sure that you honor people where they are. And so once you understand what drives them, it helps you motivate, encourage, develop, and really make sure you understand what their capacity is, because that's really important as you're looking at leadership and leading people and leading teams.